that when they're slapping his arms and stuff like that, they kind of ignored it. All right. When I say they, I'm talking about the refs. Right. So they kind of ignored him.
Originally, I was a little bit surprised at what just happened. And then I was surprised that the officials did not go to the monitor to review it because obviously it was a flagrant one.
Caitlin Clark had been getting knocked around all season. Screens that felt more like body checks, hands grabbing at her jersey, elbows flying on drives, all part of the game, the veterans would say.
At some point, you do have to protect these players. All right. I get it. You want it to be gritty and all that. But fam, there was a lot of slapping and holding up in there.
But to Clark, it wasn't just physical, it was personal. Game after game, she got hit, bumped, and shoved with no whistle. And game after game, the referees let it slide. Until one night, in front of a packed arena and millions watching at home, she finally had enough. That night wasn't supposed to be a war. It was a regular season matchup between the Indiana Fever and a playoff-bound contender. But the moment the game tipped off, the tone shifted. Within the first few minutes, Clark was picked up full court, pressured, bumped, swarmed. Every time she touched the ball, a body came crashing into her. The refs? Silent. Not a single foul call.
Act that was not a basketball play. But I honestly, Chiney, don't think the officials saw it clearly, even though it was right in front of one of them.
The first real hit came midway through the second quarter. Clark came off a screen, caught the ball on the wing, and immediately took a shoulder to the ribs. She stumbled but kept her dribble. No call. The crowd gasped. The announcers paused. Still, nothing from the officials. And Clark? She didn't look at the referee. She didn't flail her arms. She just took it. But the hits kept coming. On the next possession, a defender reached across her body and slapped the ball loose, along with a handful of her wrist. Again, no whistle.
And all of that, get scraped, scratched. I'm pretty sure a lot of players get that. But Caitlin Clark, man, she's just trying to sell the foul, man.
Clark turned to the official with an expression of disbelief. Still, no call. And then it happened again, and again, and again. By halftime, Clark had been hit at least 7 times with no fouls called. Social media exploded. Replay clips were already circulating, each one more blatant than the last. Commentators were baffled. "I don't know what game these refs are watching," one analyst said during the halftime show. "That's not defense, that's mugging." The WNBA had a problem, because Clark wasn't just another rookie. She was the league's cash cow. Ratings soared when she played. Arena seats filled, merchandise flew off the shelves. And yet, here she was, being treated like a rookie on a dusty practice court. When the third quarter started, Clark came out different. She didn't flinch when defenders pressed up on her. She didn't complain when a screen turned into a moving block. She absorbed every blow like fuel, and then she started dropping hammers. Step back three, swish, next play, steal and coast-to-coast layup. Then, a deep pull-up from the logo that barely touched net. The crowd erupted. The cameras cut to her face, stone cold. She didn't celebrate. She didn't talk. She just turned and got back on defense. But then it happened again. Another hard foul. This time, on a drive to the rim. Clark took a hip check in midair and hit the floor hard. The arena held its breath.
Hold. There's another grab. I mean,
all of those
are fouls. Every single one of them. And here, that's a foul, and finally...
Still, no whistle. Clark stood up slowly. No grimace. No outburst. Just a look, like she had made a decision. Next possession, she came down the court with fire in her eyes. Called for the ball. Got it at the top of the key. Her defender pressed up, too close. Clark jabbed, spun, created space, and drilled a fadeaway 3 right in her face. That was the moment. She didn't say a word to the ref. She didn't need to. She was speaking through the scoreboard. The fourth quarter was a clinic. Clark torched the defense with no mercy. By the end of the night, she had 36 points, 7 assists, and 5 steals, all while being hacked, grabbed, and mauled by defenders who knew the refs weren't going to protect her.
That when they're slapping his arms and stuff like that, they kind of ignored it. All right. When I say they, I'm talking about the refs. Right. So they kind of ignored him.
The post-game press conference was tense. Reporters asked the coach if he felt Clark was being targeted. He dodged. "It's a physical league," he said. "We just have to play through it." But Clark didn't dodge. "I play hard," she said calmly. "I expect it to be physical, but I also expect fairness. If something's a foul, it's a foul. That's all I'm saying." Those words hit harder than any stat line. The league took notice, so did her fellow players. Some came to her defense, others criticized her for whining. But fans saw what was really happening. Clark was being held to a different standard. She was expected to take the punishment without the protection.
On all that, she's trying to help the refs see where she's getting fouled, slapped, held. She's getting all kind of things on the court, all right?
To draw crowds and ratings, but not draw fouls. And that wasn't sitting well with anyone. Veteran WNBA players weighed in. Some admitted that Clark was receiving a welcome to the league treatment, an unspoken rite of passage. But others said it had gone too far. "At the end of the day, you protect the product," one retired star tweeted, "and Caitlin is the product." What made Clark's situation unique wasn't just the hits. It was the double standard. Male players of her stature, like Steph Curry, Ja Morant, or Luka Doncic, got superstar calls. They were shielded by refs who understood their value to the league. Clark wasn't getting that. Not even close. And that begged the question, why? Some said it was resentment, that veterans resented the attention Clark was getting, that refs, subconsciously or not, were letting the hits go to prove a point. She hadn't earned anything yet. Others said it was fear, that blowing the whistle on every foul against Clark would disrupt the game, that it would turn physical defenders into fouling machines. But none of those reasons held up, because fairness doesn't have qualifiers. And Clark wasn't asking for favors, just for calls that anyone else would get.
Originally, I was a little bit surprised at what just happened, and then I was surprised that the officials did not go to the monitor to review it, because obviously it was a flagrant one.
As the week wore on, the footage of the game went viral. One ESPN analyst called it the worst officiating display I've seen in a decade. Another added, "You can't market Caitlin Clark like she's the future of the league and then let her get beat up like she's disposable." The league released a statement days later, admitting that several missed calls had occurred during the game, but the damage had already been done. Clark's response was telling. She didn't post a long rant. She didn't go on a podcast. She went back to work. And in her next game, she dropped 40. This time, the refs blew the whistle early and often. Maybe because of the criticism, maybe because of the attention. But one thing was certain. Clark had forced a reckoning. She wasn't just playing through contact. She was calling it out. She wasn't asking for protection. She was demanding respect. And the league knew they had to listen. Because for all the debates and drama, one thing was clear. Caitlin Clark wasn't backing down. She had taken every hit, stayed silent through every no call, and then answered with the only thing she knew how: buckets.
Yeah, I would like for her to just play through it sometimes, but I get it too because she's getting slapped, she's getting held, and those are the things that injured her.
The hammer she dropped wasn't just about scoring, it was about setting a standard for how stars should be treated, for how women in professional sports deserve protection, for how talent, toughness, and tenacity shouldn't be punished, but praised. And if the refs missed it, she'd make sure the scoreboard didn't. Subscribe to the channel, catch a dime. We'll catch you in the next one.